יש דבר חשוב שצריך לדעת, יש הרגש עצום בלב כל ישראל, ואף אחד שבעולם לא ייקח את זה ממני. אז תשמע אחי, תשמע טוב, אנחנו עם קדוש מכל העמים. האם תרגיש את זה בתוך הנשמה, שהקדוש ברוך הוא בחר בנו ורוממתנו? אז באת שיר איתי מכל הלב. כל הכבוד למילים, כל הכבוד לעיתים, שאנחנו יודעים, אנחנו מאמינים, זכינו להיות גם במרחב. כל הכבוד אחי, כל הכבוד.
Welcome back to another class on Dalet Amot shel Halacha. Ein lo l'kadosh baruch hu ba'olamo ela arba Amot shel Halacha bilvad. We are continuing in Siman Reish Tzadik Tet in Halacha Siman. This will be part 2 of the shiur. We are beginning in the next phase of the halacha with the Yesh Omrim. Before we begin the Yesh Omrim, let's just recall what the Stam had mentioned previously in the halacha. The Stam said that if a person went ahead and he did havdala prior to washing the hands for the bread meal, the blessing that he blessed on the shel havdala is going to allow him to continue drinking the wine in the bread meal. Now let's just look at this as shel yain. It's the cup of wine that a person has during the bread meal, and this we'll look at as the shel havdala. That was the Stam opinion. V'yesh omrim, there are those that say de lo patar. No, this cup of wine, meaning this cup of shel havdala, is not going to exempt this cup of wine. Elim ken natal yadav kodem shivdil, unless you wash your hands before you did havdala. Come the Yesh Omrim, and the Yesh Omrim say like this: if you want the blessing that you're saying on the shel havdala to exempt you from blessing on the cup of wine that you're going to have during the bread meal, if you want that to happen, you need to first wash your hands. You wash your hands, you do the havdala, then you say the hamotzi. Not like the Stam opinion that says you do the havdala, wash your hands, and then do the hamotzi. Comes the Mishnah Berurah Sivkat the Chavei, and he says, Elim ken natal yadav, unless you wash your hands, shenitilat yadam hi atchalat kviut hasuda. The washing of the hands is the beginning of establishing a meal, v'shaycha leseuda, and it is connected to the meal. The washing of the hands is the beginning of establishing a meal, and the washing of the hands is connected to the meal. What is the Mishnah Berurah saying? What just happened? Rabotai, we're going to see B'leneder, Siman Kuf Ayin Daled, and Halacha Daled, in Siv Katan Yud. The Mishnah Berurah says something fascinating, Rabotai. From there, we're going to apply it over here. If you ever paid attention, how is it possible that Leil Shabbat on Friday night, when you do Kiddush, you don't wash your hands, you do Kiddush, you wash your hands, and then you have the bread meal. And then even when you're going to have wine, you're going to tell you the blessing that you bless on the shel Kiddush is going to exempt the shel yain that you have during the meal. Not a problem. Over here, come the Yesh Omrim to tell you what, if you did exactly the same process like you do for Kiddush, it's not going to help you. Why isn't it going to help me? Rabotai, the Mishnah Berurah over there says in Siman Kuf Ayin Daled and Halacha Daled, in Siv Katan Yud, he says something fascinating. He says Kiddush has everything to do with your meal that's upcoming. The whole reason why you're doing the Kiddush is for the meal. Havdala has nothing to do with your meal. So the Yesh Omrim are saying if havdala has nothing to do with your meal, they're telling the Stam, how do you want the havdala bracha when he said Brei Geffen to help for the wine during the meal? It has nothing to do with one another. Comes the Yesh Omrim and they want to say, if you want this to be able to help for this, I'll tell you what you should do. Make some form of connection. Wash your hands, which is the beginning of establishing a meal. Beautiful. Now, since that is connected to the meal, now you're as if you're inside the meal. Say havdala. Now the blessing of Brei Geffen is going to help for the cup of wine that you're going to have during the meal. What's the problem? Rabotai, you hear what the Mishnah Berurah is doing? The Mishnah Berurah is telling you havdala is not have nothing, it has no shaykhs to the bread meal. If it has no shaykhs to the bread meal, how do you want the kosher havdala to help you for the kosher yain? So therefore, the Yeshua tell you, wash your hands, which is the beginning of establishing a meal, which has everything to do with the meal. Beautiful. So now it's connected with the meal. Excellent. Now I wash my hands, go and do havdala. It's as if you're inside the meal, Rabotai. So now that you're inside the meal, go ahead, say the blessing of Borei Geffen, and that course that you bless on Borei Geffen is going to help you for the kosher yain during your bread meal. Rabotai, you see that? Look how beautiful this is. The washing of the hands is the beginning of establishing the meal. And it's connected to the meal. We're making this like Kiddush night by Friday. How? Because the Kiddush over there has everything to do with the meal. Good. Now that you're saying havdala after the washing of the hands, you're showing me that havdala has something to do with the meal. So now you don't have to bless on this. Look at that, Rabotai, how beautiful this is. One more time. The washing of the hands is the beginning of establishing a meal. And it's connected to the meal. Oh, so I'm doing havdala after the washing of the meal. I'm right in the middle of it's as if I'm right in the middle of the meal. Let me ask you guys a question. Regular day. A person went ahead and he washed his hands for bread. Now he wants to drink wine. Does he have to say Borei Geffen or not? Another question. A person in the middle of the day, in the weekday, I'm not talking about Shabbat right now, just regular day. Person when he wants to eat pizza. He wants to have Coca-Cola with his pizza. He said hamotzi and now he wants to have Coca-Cola. Does he say shahakol or not? What do you guys think? Rabotai, when it comes to the geffen, if I wash my hands for pizza and now I want to go ahead and drink wine, the hamotzi blessing doesn't exempt my Borei Geffen blessing. Borei Geffen stand on its own because it's very important. It changes for the better, went from grapes to wine. But by pizza and Coca-Cola, the hamotzi blessing on the bread will take out my hashakol. I don't even have to say shakol on the Coca-Cola. Why am I telling this, Rabotai? Pay close attention. Just like you could understand that it makes no difference if I am inside the bread meal. Therefore good, it doesn't make a difference now if I'm after of the washing of the hands and I'm doing havdala there. Because just like you could understand when I'm inside the bread meal, I have to go ahead and make my own bracha. Good, but I'm inside the meal. Over here also by havdala. I'm inside the meal even after washing the hands. So when I went ahead and I said Borei Geffen on the kosher havdala, this blessing is going to help me on the kosher yain that I'm going to drink during my meal. Because I'm in the middle of the meal. Because remember, nothing is going to exempt the wine, not bread, nothing. Unless I said the Borei Geffen. I did say Borei Geffen. Oh, it's not in the middle of the meal. Yes, it is. Because I did it after the washing of the hands. This is the opinion of the Yesh Omrim. Rabotai continues the Mishnah Berurah. And this that you're allowed to go ahead and do havdala, and it's not considered to be an interruption, between the washing of the hands and the blessing of hamotzi lachem in the aretz. I be Siman Kuf Ein Daled. Look into Siman Kuf Ein Daled, which is 174. By Magen Avraham, in the Magen Avraham, Siv Katan Vav. Look over there, Magen Avraham and Siv Katan Vav. Okay, let's go see it, Rabotai. Let's see what he wants. How is this not considered to be an interruption? I don't get it. A person went ahead, he washed his hands for the bread meal. Al Nitzlei Yadayim, dried his hands. The next thing is you have to say hamotzi. It's a machlok, Rabotai, if you're allowed to interrupt or not. It's preferable that we don't want you to speak. Because you're allowed to speak between the washing and hamotzi. Look into Siman Kuf Samach Vav in Siman 166, Halach Aleph. It's just the Shulchan Aruch, he says, there are those that say you don't have to be careful between the washing and hamotzi. And there are those that say you do have to be careful. The Shulchan Aruch concludes and he says you should be careful. So there was better not to speak between the washing of the hands and hamotzi lachem min haaretz. Rabotai, look over there, when we get there, we'll get there. But if you want to do it prior to this, go ahead and look into Siman Kuf Samachvav, that's 166. Halacha Aleph, it's only one halacha. In England, Rabotai, the question over here is, the Mishnah was saying, how can you interrupt between the washing of the hands and the blessing of Hamotzi Lachem Naaretz? Because remember, I'm doing the havdala before Hamotzi. Why am I doing the havdala before Hamotzi? Because it's Motzi Shabbat. And I can't eat, like we saw in Siman Reish Tzadik Tet in Halacha Aleph, until I do havdala. So I have no choice but to do it after the washing of the hands. Comes the Magen Avraham and Simchat Vav and Siman Kuf Ayin Daled, and he says, Ve'im Tomar, and if you're going to tell me, Ech Shari La'afsik, how is one permitted to interrupt, La'havdil, to do havdala, Ben Itil Yadayim La'hamotzi, between the washing of the hands and the blessing of Hamotzi Lachem Naaretz? If you're going to come with that claim, yes, Tomar, I can give you an answer. It's not considered to be that you are removing your mind from the meal by doing havdala. Why? Since in your mind you want to eat. Look, I wash my hands for what? Because I want to have lava malka, correct? So good. I'm not doing havdala somewhere. I'm not going another place. I'm here at my table. My table is right in front of me. So good. I'm washing my hands. I'm doing havdala. Oh, you want to say let that be an interruption? That cannot be an interruption. That cannot be that I'm removing my mind from the meal because I am still in front of the table. My next thing is to go ahead and eat. That's what the Magen Avraham tells you. Yes, you can tell me that this is not considered to be that you are removing your mind from the meal in order for it to be called an interruption. Why is that? Since in your mind you want to eat, the whole reason why I wash my hands is to eat the bread. So this is the Peshad from over here, from the Mishnah Berurah. So we see over here that according to the Yesh Omrim, they want you to go ahead and wash your hands, do the havdala, then hamotzi. When you're going to drink the wine in the bread meal, don't worry about the blessing. You're exempt from saying another bread gift and blessing. Oh, how did I do the havdala between the washing and the hamotzi? Not a problem. That's not considered to be that you're taking off your mind from the meal, since in your mind you want to go and eat the meal. Okay, Rabotai, if we turn to Siman Kuf Ayin Daled, in Siman Kuf Ayin Daled and Halacha Daled, I have it on page 148, 149. He says like this, Rabotai, similar halacha, actually almost the same. Im kaval shtot, but this is going, Rabotai, on a regular day. That's going on Motzi Shabbat. Lava Malka. This is going on a regular day. You know what bothers me right now? Look, for one halacha, look how many details there are. When to bless, when not to bless. Should it cover, should not cover. Look how careful a person has to be when it comes to berachot. Not to take berachot very lightly. Rabotai, and many times I see this. You know, sometimes you go to people's house for Shabbat. How much? Where you rushing? Where you take it easy, man. Just slow down, my brother. Where you rushing? I can't be yoitza with him. I can't even answer a main to him. He swallows everything, Rabotai. Anyway, in Halacha Daled in Siman Kuf Ayin Daled, that's 174. Halacha 4. Im kaval lishtot lifnei hamazon. Regular day, Rabotai. Again, you can apply it for sure for it, but this right now regular day. Im kaval lishtot lifnei hamazon. If a person went ahead and he established himself to drink before having a bread meal, ein tzarich levarech al hayayin shebetoch hamazon. You don't need to go ahead and you don't need to bless on the wine that's during the meal. Again, if a person went ahead and he wanted to sit down right now with his friends, what means in kava? He wanted to sit down. You sat down. Now you want to have a drink party. You know, Rabotai, I could never understand this halacha. What do you mean you want to have a drink party? Until one time when I was in Italy, I don't know what. In Italy, there is I don't know what you call those things. They have these beer, like these kegs. Really, literally, real kegs, wooden kegs. You push over. Again, I don't drink alcohol, Baruch Hashem, but you have people that they just bring these beer mugs like this big, and they fill it up, and all they do, they have peanuts or whatever they had, and shesh besh, or checkers or chess, whatever they were playing, and all day long, Rabotai, people can sit and just drink. And that's what I mean about that's establishing oneself to drink. Better yet, to give you an understanding, people sit down, sometimes you want to take a break. Throughout the day, a person is running, this. Take a break with yourself. You want to be with Hashem. You take a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, just want to be able to enjoy it. You establish yourself to have a drink. Over here is going on alcohol, okay? Im kava lishtot lifnei hamazon. If a person would add and establish himself to have a drink before having a bread meal, ein tzarich levarech al hayan shebetoch hamazon. You went ahead, and then after the drink, after establishing yourself for a drink, you went ahead and you wash your hands for the bread meal. Now you want to continue having your drink. You don't have to bless on that wine, bread geffen. Why? The yain shelifnei hamazon. Okay, a boy said, "Give me 1 second. 1 second. I'm so sorry, guys. 1 second. 1 second. Okay, Rabotai. So he said like this. He says the yain shelifnei hamazon potro, because the wine before the meal exempts the wine after the meal. Continues the Shulchan Aruch and he says, "V'chen yain shel kiddush." Here we go. And so to the wine of kiddush of Friday night, poter yain shebetoch hamazon. It's going to exempt the wine inside the meal. Here we go, Rabotai. V'hen hamavdil al shulchano poter yain shebetoch hamazon. And so to one who does havdala on his table, like we see in Siman Reish Sadik Tet in Halacha Siman, poter yain shebetoch hamazon. Clear halacha, Rabotai. Like we saw over there, exactly word for word. Comes the Mishnah Berurah in Sif Katan Yud, and he says, what does it mean? V'chen hamavdil al shulchan poter yain shebetoch hamazon. Rotzeh lomar, he wants to say, af agav de havdala ein shaycha klal l'seuda kimo kiddush, even though the havdala has nothing to do with the meal, like kiddush has everything to do with the meal. That's what the Yesh Omrim don't agree with, Rabotai. Afilu hacha, even so, in such a situation, Kevin the hivdil ala shulchan, like we saw in the first opinion, the Shulchan Aruch and Siman Reish Sadik Tet in Halacha Siman, since he went out and he did havdala on the table, Rotzeh lomar shehichin atzmo l'suda. He wants to say that he prepared himself for a meal. Shaycha l'seuda, then we're going to tell you that this havdala is connected to the meal. And that's why you don't have to bless again. Rabotai, remember what the Mishnah Berurah said over there regarding 1 second, boy, saying? Right, what did he tell us over here in Chavdalad? He says al shulchano, if a person went ahead and he did havdala on the table, lav davka, not necessarily on the table, he wanted to come to exclude another room. The sham have havdala. Excuse me. The sham have havdala midachmin, because over there the havdala is something else. It has no connection to the meal now. You're in another room, like we explained in the previous class. But if you're in the same room where you're going to go ahead and have the meal, chashu al shulchan, it's considered that you're on the table. Because in their mind they want to continue drinking the meal. That they're going to eat there after this. So we see clearly from over here, Rabotai, that what does that mean, al shulchan? According to the Mishnah Berurah in Sifkat Chavdalet, it's coming to exclude another room. Now we get a better understanding from Sifkat and Yud in Siman Kuf Ayin Dalet. Why? Because you're basically, when you're doing the havdala in the same room, that is a preparation for you going ahead and continuing your meal. So that's what he says over here. And even so, since you went ahead and you did havdala on the table, he wants to say that you prepared yourself for the meal. So basically, what is he telling us over here? A person went ahead on Saturday night. You set up your table for Milav and Malka. No problem. Now you're going to go ahead and do havdala. Since you're preparing yourself for the meal, this havdala, Rabotai, that you're blessing now is basically showing that it's part of the meal. Umayri kenichtu la'el, and it's talking about like we wrote above, Shaya b'da'ato l'shtot gam b'toch hasuda. That at the time when you were saying the blessing of Brei Geffen and the kosher havdala, you had in your mind that you're also going to drink wine during the meal in order for it to exempt the wine of the meal from blessing on it, Brei Geffen. Rabotai, so we see over here something very important. See clearly the Stam opinion says, Alpha gav the havdala in the shaycha klal su'uda kimo kiddush. Even though havdala has nothing to do with the meal like kiddush does, even so we're going to allow you to go ahead and fulfill your obligation with the Brei Geffen blessing and the kosher havdala and the kosher yain b'toch hasu'uda. That's the Stam opinion. Rabotai, look, Rabotai, how they're connected. Now, continues the Shulchan Aruch and he says, V'yesh omrim, we go back to our yesh omrim, she'en birkat yain havdala poter, the blessing of the wine of the havdala is not going to exempt the kos shel yain b'toch hasuda, elim ken natal yadav kodem havdala, unless you wash your hands prior to havdala. In order to be able to have that connection, that the havdala should show that it is part of the meal, because according to the Yesh Omrim, if it doesn't show any connection to the meal, it can't exempt this cup of wine. Rabotai, look what the Shulchan Aruch now concludes. Because what do you have over here? You have over here Stam v'yesh, and look what the Shulchan Aruch concludes. Hilkach, therefore, hamavdil kodem nitila. One goes ahead and he does havdala before the washing of the hands. Yichaven shelo lehotzi yain shebetoch hasuda, have kavanah not to exempt the wine, not to fulfill your obligation for the wine that is inside the meal. Meaning, say Rabotai, when I'm doing havdala now, according to the Yesh Omrim, put it like this. Let's go back. Since we have the Stam and since we have the Yesh, right, we know the halacha is Stam v'yesh halacha kistam. But since we're dealing with brachot, safek brachot, because according to the Yesh, you can bless, according to the Stam, you can bless. Since it's a machlok and brachot are only the Rabbanim, we're going to be lenient. Comes to Shulchan Aruch, as he tells you, therefore, hamavdil kodem nitila, if you're going to do havdala before the washing of the hands, yichaven, have kavanah, shelo leotzi yain, shebetoch hasuda, not to fulfill the obligation for the wine that you're going to have during the meal. Why? So you can go ahead and you can bless again. Rabotai, look into Sif Kad and Tedvav and the Mishnah Berurah. Yichaven shelo lehotzi ve'az. Listen carefully. Again. So I'm going to have right now kavanah when I'm doing the course again. One more time, Rabotai. This is according to the opinion of the Yesh Omrim. I'm not washing my hands. First, I'm going to go ahead and do havdala. Hilkach there it says, hamavdil kodem nitila. One is going ahead and doing havdala before the washing of the hands, like this. Baruch atah Hashem, hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol, right? I do the whole thing. B'rei mirayish, whatever. B'rei mini b'sabim, hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol, whatever. I did all the four berachot. Now, after I did it, when I'm doing the blessing on this, initially in my mind, before I start, I have to say like this. I don't want this blessing of Brei Geffen to exempt the wine that I'm going to have during the meal. So now when I come to the wine during the meal, I'm going to say, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech olam Brei Geffen. I'm going to say the full-fledged bracha. Because I had an open intention to exclude this from my blessing, which you can do. So that's what the Shulchan Aruch is telling you. Comes the Mishnah Berurah says in Sif Katan Tetvav, ve'az yivarech bracha achrona al kos ze kodem hasuda. Therefore, go bless after blessing on this cup before the suuda, which is alagev al Brei Geffen. Again, if you only drink a revi'it, if you only drink 3 ounces. This is the way the Mishnah Berurah understand the Shulchan Aruch. Rabotai, who else paskins like the Mishnah Berurah that you have to bless and after blessing on this cup of wine before you start your meal? So therefore you're going to go ahead and at ease. Again, you can always say, you're going to say Brei Geffen no matter what. If you have that kavanah, you're going to say Brei Geffen. The question is, what about the after blessing right now? So the Mishnah Berurah tells you should say the after blessing after you had 3 ounces. Comes the Amudeh Hur'ah Rabbi Dahan in Ot Vav in the bottom, and he says, V'chein pasku l'dina Kaf HaChaim b'halacha birura. The Kaf HaChaim and the halacha birura, they made a Pesach halacha like the Mishnah birura. Kidat Maran b'Shulchan Aruch l'kamen Sim Reis Adetet Sivchet. Like we'll see later on, but Rabotai, we still didn't get that. That's after Zion goes ahead. That's later on. They paskin like that. That you have to go ahead and you have to say the after blessing. Aval HaYalkut Yosef, however, Yitzchak Yosef Shlita, Pasak, he made a Pasak halacha, De'en levarech brecha achrona al hayayin, al hayayin havdala, kodem hasuda. He says, do not bless the after blessing on the wine of havdala before the meal. Why? Kevin de Sov Sov, hayayin gorer ha'achila, v'niftar b'birkat hamazon. Bottom line is, he says when a person drinks wine, it opens up his appetite and it's going to be exempt from the blessing of Amot min haaretz. The safek brachot hakel. Whenever again we're coming back to that rule, now you're dealing with should you say a blessing, should you not say a blessing? Since it's a doubt, if you should bless it or not, we're going to be lenient and we're going to tell you not to bless it. So it comes down to be like this. According to the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Kuf Ayin Dalet, in Halacha Dalet, the Shulchan Aruch tells you, since you have the opinion of the Stam and the Yesh, the Shulchan Aruch says, therefore, if one is doing havdala before the washing of the hands, have open kavanah to not to exempt this. Not to exempt it. Only, you want to say like this, this what I'm blessing, the brach of Borei Pri Gefen, only applies to this cup of havdala and not to any other wine. Not to this cup of wine. So therefore, when I'm going to wash and say Amot, and now I want to drink wine, I'm going to go ahead and say the blessing of Borei Pri Gefen by itself. That is the beginning blessing. What about the ending blessing? According to the Shulchan Aruch, the Kaf HaChaim, and the Rav David Yosef, and the Mishnah Berurah, all say, before you wash your hands for the next meal, say Al HaGefen v'Al Pri HaGefen. Comes Rav Yitzchak Yosef Shluta, says, no, since by you drinking wine, it opens up your appetite, therefore he says, don't say the after blessing, wash your hands, have hamotzi, say the blessing of Borei Pri Gefen on the cup of wine during the meal. Now when you're going to say Amot min haaretz, not Amot min haaretz, when you're going to say Birkat Hamazon, it's going to exempt even the after blessing that you said on this cup of wine. Okay. Rabotai, he continues over here and he says, let's just finish the halacha. Ubidiavad, shelo kiven kach. But what happens if a person, post factum, if it happened, a person with the head, he did havdala, but he didn't have open kavanah to exclude this from the blessing, he didn't do it. Shelo kiven kach, he didn't have that kavanah. Poter hayan shebetoch hasuda. We're going to tell you, you're going to exempt this wine that's during the meal. Why? Disafek berachot derabban lakel. Since whenever you have a doubt, which the berachot are only from the rabbis, since only from the rabbis, we're going to tell you to go ahead and be lenient. Rabotai, so we see from over here, lechatchila, the Shulchan Aruch wants you to have open kavanah, not to include this cup of wine in the blessing of hagefen and the kosher havdalah. If you didn't have it, we're going to tell you because of safek, should you bless, should you not bless, we're going to tell you this is included. We're going to go with the Stam opinion. However, Rabotai, when it comes to the after blessing, we saw Rav Yitzchak Yosef Shita say you shouldn't bless the after blessing, even though the Shulchan Aruch, Rav David Yosef Shita, the Kaf HaChaim, the Mishnah Berurah, all of them say you should say the after blessing.